lot of times in the industry, these terms will get used interchangeably, but they are different things. So UX really applies to human-first approach to product design. So really thinking about how a consumer or customer interacts with your products all the way from the physical world to the digital world. Think about Apple and the whole experience in an Apple store and how that translates all the way down to their products. If you go to their website, it feels very much like Apple. We then could layer UI on top of that. So UI is really this human-first approach to designing the aesthetic experience of a product. It really applies only to digital. So the visual touch points that allow users to interact with a product, for example, combinations of typography and color palettes and buttons and animation. But this whole practice of UX or UI, if you will, really comes down to helping to improve the customer's experience with your business. UX and UI are valuable because ultimately, if done well, they're going to improve the conversion rate at your website, in this case, for your business. Whether that is you're selling products through an e-com site or you're building a lead gen site, whatever action it is that you want users to take, whatever feeling you want them to have when they come to your website, and then ultimately the action you want them to take, the bottom line results, are really what's important here. When we think about UX and UI, it's our job to help, of course, preserve the integrity of the brand, but also to look at the consumer interaction on the website with the ultimate eye towards conversion. It's definitely a balancing act between designers and optimizers who want to optimize for conversion. But we do need to keep the integrity of the brand intact. But we have to look at ways that we can do that and still improve the customer journey through the website to ultimately get the conversion. Hit the bottom line where it counts. I get asked all the time about how to prioritize things in a digital marketing plan. If you haven't started or embarked on your digital marketing journey yet for your product and your site, I would say do it from the beginning. Marry the idea of the aesthetic of your brand and the emotion you want to evoke with your brand with conversion optimization, and it'll be a beautiful thing. It just doesn't usually happen that way. Oftentimes, one or the other is kind of lagging, and that's where our services would come in to help a company improve their overall customer journey through the website and ultimately conversion rate. It needs to be a priority. I think if you're going to spend money to drive traffic to your website, then you want to prioritize the user experience at the site so that you get the best conversion rate. It's kind of a waste to spend good money to drive traffic to a site that isn't providing an optimal consumer experience. Some of the tools that are available to use to understand how consumers interact with your site include things like Crazy Egg and Hotjar, and there's just a litany of them out there now, and Spacklet's another one. Some integrate with different platforms better than others, so it takes a little bit of homework and a little bit of specific knowledge about your site to really recommend one. There's also, I think Microsoft has Clarity out now, so there's a host of tools. You need to pick a tool that's going to integrate well with your site. Most of them will let you record user sessions at your site. They're not grabbing PII in that, they're just grabbing the session to understand and really see a video recording of how people click through the website and heat map the site as well. A heat map is really understanding where users' eyes and mouse are going on the screen. That can help you understand what they're interacting with, and it may also show you gaps in the site. So maybe things that you think shouldn't look clickable actually look clickable to a consumer. So for example, one tool in particular reports what they call rage clicks. So that's when someone is trying to click and click and click repeatedly on something that is not clickable. That tells us that the user of the site thinks that element is clickable. Therefore, we probably should make it clickable, or we should redesign the element to make it not appear clickable, because the last thing we want to do is frustrate a consumer when they're at the website. You need a dedicated tool for this and some dedicated time each week, probably to watch user sessions and see how they're behaving. There are specific ways to configure each tool. Usually the tools will let you understand specific paths through the site. For example, if you're an e-com site, you might want to create a path for people who have completed a purchase, so you really understand what their journey looks like. Then you might want to configure another path for people who get to the third step in your checkout process but don't complete. You may be able to identify through the heat map on that third step of the process what is turning them off. Are they hovering on the shipping cost? Is the shipping cost too high? Does it not tell them the shipping cost on that page? So you can really gain a lot of insights from these heat maps and from the customer journeys, and then start to make changes over time to see if you can improve that conversion rate. Sometimes you watch the video in the anticipation of looking for something specific, but then when you watch it, you see something different, and you may actually identify other problems in the site. One e-com site that we work with was not having any checkouts on a particular product, and we couldn't understand why. And when we watched the videos back, we saw that no matter how many times users selected the white product, the site was always loading a different color to the cart. So it would never load the white product to the cart, and that would frustrate anyone who was trying to buy that product in the color white. The UX tools that we use can identify a lot of different problems that will help ultimately drive to increased conversion. Really differentiating the experience on mobile versus desktop and testing each of those experiences all the way through. For example, a pop-up may work just fine in a desktop environment, but then in a mobile environment it covers the entire tiny screen that the user is on. That will inevitably frustrate them. We see time and time again that it creates reach clicks, people get confused about how to close out the tiny popover window on their tiny little screens. So really planning for both the mobile experience and the desktop experience for your consumers is critical. Another thing I see some sites doing is, they commit to a certain theme template, and maybe that theme template has a hero image at the top, which is very common, but that can really push the most important information down on the page, and often, especially in an e-com site, that hero image might not serve much purpose on subpages. So you really have to think about whether you need the hero or whether it's more important to get the user to the product that they're trying to purchase when they get to the site. We always have to be testing if we always want to be closing. Always testing is the best way to improve conversion rate, whether you're using landing pages and doing lead gen, whether you're using e-com. Testing can never end. So I would just say, make sure you have a good test plan set out from the beginning to continually try to improve conversion rate.